Team USA is forcing Caitlin Clark to give up her iconic number 22, and the backlash that followed is unlike anything women's basketball has seen in years. Word spread fast, faster than anyone could contain it, and what started as a quiet internal decision suddenly detonated into a public spectacle. The reaction didn't just come from fans. It came from the very top. Sue Bird, a foundational figure in women's basketball, and the managing director for Team USA, reportedly lost all sense of calm the moment she heard Caitlin's response. Her reaction wasn't subtle, and it definitely wasn't measured. Insiders describe it as a meltdown so abrupt and so frantic that even longtime Team USA members were left unsure whether they had just witnessed a crisis or a breaking point. The spark that set this avalanche in motion was one simple line. Caitlin Clark allegedly said she was done, finished, out. If they refused to let her wear that number, her number, then she was walking away from Team USA without a second thought. That's what stunned Sue Bird into silence. That's what turned this from an internal policy decision into a national controversy. The idea that the biggest star in women's basketball, the most recognizable face in the sport today, would pull the plug over a jersey number wasn't something anyone inside the organization expected. And yet, once the story leaked, it made far too much sense. Because that number is not just ink. It is her identity. People online went into frenzy mode immediately. Insiders panicked. Reporters scrambled. Commentators ran wild with theories. And fans split into camps overnight. But the person caught in the eye of this tornado was Sue Bird, who suddenly found herself the face responsible for a crisis she never prepared for. It wasn't supposed to be this way. This wasn't supposed to be news. But it became the biggest scandal in Team USA's recent memory because of what the decision represented. It wasn't a petty argument. It wasn't locker room friction. It felt like Team USA had launched a direct challenge at Caitlin's entire legacy. Now, before we get deeper into the exact phrasing Caitlin reportedly used in her private conversation with Team USA leadership, I need your take on something. If you were in her position, if you had built your entire identity, your entire public image, and your entire connection with fans around one number, would you walk away from Team USA protected? Drop your answer in the comments because this debate is splitting the entire basketball world. And make sure you tap that subscribe button because we're delivering the unfiltered version of events that nobody else is breaking down. The real tragedy in all of this is how avoidable it was. Team USA engineered a crisis that never needed to exist. They insisted that Caitlin Clark, the emerging face of sport, the engine of its cultural momentum, drop her classic number 22 for the upcoming December training camp. According to multiple insiders, her response was immediate and unshakable. She said that if she couldn't wear her number, she wasn't showing up. And that was the moment Sue Bird lost control of the situation entirely. Sue reportedly went into damage control the second she heard the news, calling advisors, seeking alternatives, asking where the internal breakdown started. She wasn't just upset. She was alarmed. Because Caitlin Clark declining to participate isn't just a roster inconvenience. It's a seismic shift. It affects global attention, sponsorship leverage, broadcasting impact, and Team USA's overall narrative heading into its most anticipated training camp in years. This wasn't a blow to morale. It was a blow to the entire foundation of Team USA's forward momentum. And let's get one thing perfectly, unmistakably clear. This isn't simply about numbers stitched onto a jersey. It's about what that number represents. It's her brand. It's her story. It's her connection with fans across every demographic. Taking that away wasn't just tone deaf. It was disrespectful. Fans saw it that way instantly. Analysts saw it that way. Even people who don't follow women's basketball closely understood the symbolism. Caitlin Clark's number 22 is not interchangeable. It is one of the most recognizable numbers in women's sports right now. And the part that sent this story into overdrive was the timing. The training camp in North Carolina, scheduled for December 12th to 14th, was supposed to be the celebration of women's basketball entering a new era. Paige Buchers, Juju Watkins, a powerful mix of veterans and rising icons. That event was supposed to be electric. Instead, it turned into ground zero for chaos. Because once the official camp documents leaked, fans realized something unbelievable. Number 22 wasn't given to anyone, not a rookie, not a vet, not a legend. It was simply left empty. That detail changed everything. It meant this decision wasn't about conflict or shortage or seniority. There was no competition for the number. Nobody asked for it. Team USA just took it. That's when fans realized something much deeper was going on. It wasn't oversight. It wasn't a mix-up. It looked intentional. And once that conclusion spread through social media, the backlash became unstoppable. Caitlin Clark didn't just with a number 22. She elevated it. She transformed it. She carried it from Iowa to the WNBA with a consistency and pride that built one of the strongest athlete brand connections in sports today. That number represents her story, her legacy, her rise. So when Team USA tried to detach her from it, without reason, without explanation, without need, it felt like a statement, a power move, a message that said, your identity belongs to us now. And Caitlin's refusal wasn't just about pride. It was about dignity. Fans responded immediately. They flooded Twitter. They filled Reddit threads. They stormed comment sections. They defended Caitlin with a level of passion few athletes ever receive. People posted screenshots. They compared it to landmark sports moments. They pointed out that Michael Jordan wore 45 when circumstances changed. They asked why no one else was wearing 22 if the reasoning was truly logistical. And when all of that uncovered nothing that made sense, the outrage became louder. So let's talk about Sue Bird again, because all of this lands directly on her shoulders. She is responsible for leading the next generation of Team USA. She is responsible for fostering trust, stability, and unity. But instead of preparing for a historic training camp, she is reportedly sifting through panic, frustration, and escalating criticism, all because Team USA created a conflict with the one athlete they could not afford to alienate. And the truth is simple. Caitlin Clark has leverage, more than any player entering a Team USA camp in recent memory. She doesn't need Team USA to validate her greatness. Her ratings are already historic. Her influence is already global. Her name is already larger than the brand trying to restrict her. But Team USA, they need her. They need her star power. They need her numbers. They need the momentum she created for an entire league. And that's why Sue Bird is scrambling behind the scenes. But this isn't just about Caitlin or Team USA leadership. It reflects a much bigger tension across women's basketball. For years, players fought for fair treatment, better travel, better pay, and basic respect. And when the most visible player in the world gets pushed around like she's disposable, the message hits every athlete watching. This number scandal is a microcosm of a larger cultural struggle. The story becomes even more bizarre when you realize something else. Last year, the potential all-star number conflict never happened because Caitlin was injured. There was no clash, no disagreement, no teammate issue. Yet somehow, Team USA decided to solve a problem that didn't exist by assigning her a random number that meant nothing to her. And when the official list dropped showing her at number 17, the internet erupted. That was the moment every suspicion crystallized. But before you make your final judgment on whether Caitlin should stay or walk away, there's something else you need to consider. Something that has quietly been simmering under the surface of this entire saga. The jersey number controversy didn't appear in a vacuum. It is the latest flashpoint in a long, complicated relationship between Team USA leadership and the new generation of players who carry the modern game on their backs. And Caitlin Clark, whether she asked for the role or not, has become the center of that generational shift. If you look closely, you can see a pattern in how these organizations react when a player's influence grows beyond the boundaries of the system. Caitlin didn't just rise. She broke records, rewired public interest, and single-handedly increased viewership at a pace the league hadn't seen in decades. That kind of meteoric growth always rattles an old guard accustomed to controlling the spotlight themselves. So it shouldn't shock anyone that the moment Caitlin became the global face of women's basketball, the pressures, expectations, and politics that come with that status began closing in on her. What makes the number 22 situation even more dramatic is the symbolism behind it. When Team USA refused to assign that number to anyone, it raised even more questions. Why erase it? Why not allow her to continue wearing the number that built her entire identity? Was it meant to neutralize her brand power? Was it a tactic to show that no athlete, no matter how popular, stands above the institution? Or Did someone underestimate the backlash that would unfold when fans saw the vacancy next to the most recognizable number in women's sports? These aren't small questions. They cut to the core of what this argument represents: power, control, and respect. And if there is one thing Caitlin Clark has shown over the last 2 years, it's that she will not compromise her values to make others comfortable. She has carried her brand with purpose. She has carried her fans with humility. She has carried her team with excellence. Walking into any gym in America wearing the number 22 is a declaration, not an accessory. So removing that from her without reason is more than a wardrobe choice. It's an erasure. And that's why this story isn't fading away. It's growing. Because every new detail makes the situation look worse for Team USA. The silence from officials, the inconsistent messaging from insiders, the defensive tone of anonymous sources trying to explain the decision. Meanwhile, Caitlin hasn't said a word publicly, and that silence is louder than any press conference. When an athlete of her stature chooses not to address a situation, it means her next move will be deliberate, calculated, thought out, and potentially transformative. That's what scares Team USA more than anything. They know Caitlin's decision will shape the next chapter of women's basketball. If she walks away, it forces a reckoning. If she returns only on her terms, it reshapes player autonomy in ways no committee can control. And if she compromises, which seems unlikely, it sets a precedent for how rising stars are treated when their influence threatens the hierarchy. So as we wait for Caitlin's response, the tension only builds. Sue Bird is reportedly pushing for immediate resolution, but the deeper issue remains untouched. This isn't about a jersey. It's about legacy, about respect, about what happens when a player becomes bigger than the system that tries to confine her. And until someone in leadership acknowledges that the flames of this controversy won't die down, they'll spread. And now I want your final word. Should Caitlin Clark draw a line in the sand and refuse to join Team USA until they restore what should have never been taken? Or should she prove her point another way? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're supporting Caitlin, and make sure you're subscribed, because this story is only getting started.